Hello and welcome into another edition of the JMac podcast. Today answering, I think, a very important question, and it has to do with many of the conversations I've had over the last few days. And it's kind of a follow-up to one of our recent podcasts about COVID-19. The question is, do we really have to choose between safety from the virus or a strong economy? We're constantly being led to believe that this is the choice that we have to make. And in fact, when I speak to diehard Trump supporters, they say, well, we can't shut down the entire economy. We'll go into a depression. We just can't do that. But again, that's based upon the idea that those are our only choices. Again, a strong, vibrant economy or safety from COVID-19. I would suggest to you that these are not our only two choices. And in fact, there was a third choice that, if chosen by our current president, I believe would have saved lives, our economy would be much further along, and he wouldn't be facing any of the scrutiny that he's facing right now because of COVID-19. Unfortunately, he couldn't see this solution. He was so worried about his precious economy, knowing that that's the key to his reelection. He was so caught up in that he couldn't see this third option. And I believe that is why he has failed as a leader. He may be a great business person. He may have made some decent choices here and there. But when you want to be leader of the free world, you have to be able to be versatile. And you have to be able to listen to those around you. You have to be able to listen to the experts. And you have to be ready and willing to make the tough choices and to set an example. So what is the third option that I'm talking about? What do you think? Type it in the comments. What is the third option that was available to the president? Again, we're always told strong economy or safety from COVID. Those are our only two choices. Nope. Bring those two together. I want you to imagine a world where this happened, where the president didn't downplay the virus, but where he followed the epidemiologists, he followed the science, and he said, this is absolutely something that we have to worry about, but we don't want to shut down our economy. So is there a way that we can increase safety and save lives and keep the economy open as well? Well, even his own CDC guidelines and White House guidelines have shown this path. It was right there in front of his face. But we're told by those who work around him that he doesn't really like to read or listen to the experts. The answer was to follow the guidelines and open at the same time. In other words, open. Find a way to get your business open. Find a way to get your restaurant open. Find a way to get schools open. But do so in following the guidelines that are published and have been published for months and months and months on the website by the White House. And then set the example yourself. The president keeps saying, I had to go out in public. I couldn't just sit there in my basement like Joe Biden. We had to be out there, and that's why I took one for the team and I got COVID-19. But that's because I was leading and I wasn't afraid of the virus. That's absolute nonsense. He could have had every single event that he had. He could have had every single function, every single meeting, but done so setting an example for the entire world. Wearing a mask when you had the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. Separate. Social distancing. Everybody wearing a mask. He is one of the primary reasons why there is a portion of our population that refuses to wear a mask, that says that COVID-19 is a hoax. He's directly responsible for this because where he goes, they will follow no matter what. So imagine this world for a minute where the president says, we will reopen, but we will do so safely. So here are the guidelines for each state, for each restaurant, for each school. Imagine if he set a leadership example where those people who are out there crying civil rights and saying that we shouldn't be made to wear a mask, they were told by this president who they idolize, you need to take this seriously. You need to wear a mask. Now, would there still have been those people that refused to do so? Absolutely. But good leadership would have brought so many people to the right side of the aisle, the side of the aisle that followed science. Now, think about where we would be at today if the president had decided to reopen safely instead of reopen at all costs and reopen while downplaying the virus. Think about where we would be today. First of all, would the economy be in a better place? Absolutely. More things would be open. Would there have been fewer deaths? Without a doubt. Would he be susceptible to the criticism that has been so aggressively put against him? That he didn't set an example, that he wouldn't wear a mask, that he didn't do everything that he could do. No, none of that criticism would stick to him because he would be able to clearly say, look, everything that we have done has followed the science and the epidemiologists. We stayed open. The White House stayed open, but we did so safely. And there's a very good chance that that super spreader event, when the Supreme Court justice was nominated, that never happens. That Chris Christie never goes to the intensive care unit. That so many people on the White House staff had to sequester. There's a very good chance that never happens. One more arrow taken out of the quiver of the left and the media. You know, everybody complains so often about the media and how they constantly attack this man. But what they fail to recognize is that this man puts bullets or arrows in their quiver on a daily basis. Imagine a world where he didn't just think about himself, where he didn't just think about his reelection. I guarantee you there were people around him. In fact, I know there were people around him who encouraged him to take this path, but he wouldn't listen. He refused. He could have had both worlds. Think about this. He could possibly lose this election, and it's going to be mostly because of how he handled COVID-19, in my opinion. And if you look at the polling, he could have taken such a different course. He could have shown true leadership, but he didn't. And he didn't do it because he gets caught up in his own world. And he got so worried about being reelected. Just imagine this world, all of you diehard Trump supporters, where the president did everything he could with COVID, but he also did everything he could to reopen. I think the polling would be very different today. I think his support would be much higher. I think more people would be alive. I think the economy would be doing much better. And I think that we could be looking forward to the next few years instead of trembling in fear trying to figure out what possibly is going to happen. What do you think? Let me know in the comments and I'll do a follow-up podcast. In the meantime, please also take a minute and support the JMac podcast. Scan that QR code that you see right there on the screen and make a one-time donation or a monthly donation. You can also look in the podcast description. Again, I'm doing everything I can to bring these to you on a daily basis. And so every little bit helps me out. And to those of you who have already done so, thank you so much. You've seen that the quality of this broadcast and this podcast has been able to go up. We're now live streaming to Facebook and YouTube and to Twitter. and I'm able to show you more videos and do so many other things. That is due in large part to those of you who have already become patrons of this podcast. So thank you very much for that. And with that, I will see you soon.